Joining us now is my MSNBC colleague, Steve Bannon. Steve is a producer on The Rachel Maddow Show and editor of the Maddow blog and author of the new book, Ministry of Truth, Democracy, Reality, and the Republicans' War on the Recent Past. Good to have you here, Steve. Let's get into this because you write arguments interpreting history. That's nothing unusual in politics, but you say Republicans are doing something unique. They're trying to rewrite the recent past, which, I mean, that kind of seems ludicrous because recent history can so easily be verified. So why are Republicans doing this and why is this dangerous?
Well, there's two things to keep in mind here. I think the first is that the Republicans feel as if they don't have a choice. You know, throughout history, politicians have run into controversies and scandals. But it's different. It's qualitatively different when you deploy a mob of insurrectionists to attack your own country's capital, or you fail to respond to a public health crisis, or you cooperate with Russia to elevate yourself to the presidency. These are unique scandals that have no real parallel in American history, and so Republicans feel as if they have no choice but to rewrite these stories because otherwise they would lose. The other thing to keep in mind, I think, is that polling suggests that it's working for them, at least with regards to the voters that they care about most. Republican base, Republican activists, and so on. There's ample public polling data that shows that as of right now, most Republican voters believe that January 6th was not an insurrectionist riot, that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, that his response to COVID was fantastic, and that Russia had nothing to do with the 2016 election. These are all completely wrong, of course, as I document in the book, but at the same time, Republicans do this because they know it's working with their own base.
So it even goes beyond that, though, because you cite polling that says not only does it get a supermajority oftentimes of GOP voters, but it can go outside of that area and take hold with voters outside the Republican base. How does that happen?
Well, it's a good question. I think that really what happens is it starts with the Republican base, where they're misled by their people that they put their faith in, their trust in, unfortunately, to the effect that they end up getting misled. But it starts to permeate throughout the American political system. After a while, there's a growing number of Americans, for example, who believe that the Trump-Russia scandal was discredited by Robert Mueller and the Senate Intelligence Committee. The exact opposite is true. We know that the evidence suggests that there was ample cooperation between Trump and Russia in 2016. And so the more these lies and these efforts to rewrite history, and the more they put reality up for grabs, it starts to permeate American politics in such a way that is fundamentally unhealthy to our democracy.
And you say, I mean, to put this in a nutshell, that the first pillar of rewriting recent history is a wholesale indifference toward reality. So Trump can convince his supporters that he built this gigantic wall on the southern border, which he didn't. He built a very small one. Last week, Trump pushed that lie that images of Kamala Harris's huge crowd at a Detroit rally, that they were AI generated. And that was a claim that was then bolstered by fake AI images that Trump supporters trafficked as proof. How much does artificial intelligence, Steve, concern you as a weapon for rewriting both present day and broader history?
Yeah, this is an important development that really needs some additional attention. I mean, this past week, we had that classic example that's related to Kamala Harris's crowds. Donald Trump knew those pictures were real. He knew that we knew that they were real, and he nevertheless lied about it, hoping to just leave people more confused, more people bewildered by these plain as day images. And so I think that we're going to see more of that in the coming weeks, months, and years, where Republicans, especially Donald Trump, are put in a position where they say, don't believe your lying eyes. If Democrats are turning out in large numbers, it couldn't possibly be real. And so it puts people in a position where they're confused, understandably. They don't know who to trust. And so this larger campaign is getting worse, not better. All the more reason to push back against it with reality.
Can I just ask you in about 15 seconds to tell me, is it for more than just holding on to power? Is there another reason it's being done?
Well, the scary scenario here is that the larger goal is not just electoral, it's undemocratic. It's about undermining the system. It's about making it harder for people to make up their own minds about what's real, and therefore make it more difficult for the political system itself to function the way it's supposed to. That's a scary scenario, but I think, as I document in the book, it's a very real one.
Wow. Here's the book, everybody. Ministry of Truth, Democracy, Reality, and the Republicans' War on the Recent Past. Steve Bannon, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you.